Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to our great, fabulous segment we have. And, here's what I love about this. Every time I see this interview coming up where I get to talk with someone from PETA, I love it. Now, PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Samantha Crow is joining me here today, an Associate Director of Science Education for PETA. And here's the thing. Marking kind kids with the kind frog. We did a show on this last year. This is the anniversary of a revolution in science education, and this is a big one. Samantha, it's great to have you here. Great to be talking about this again. Last year, we touched upon it. This year, bring us up to date. How is that Teach Kind program working for you guys? Because I was so thrilled last time we spoke that we're not cutting up animals.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yeah, it's such a great question. And I'm so thrilled to share our updates with you. So since we launched the Kind Frog just 1 year ago, we've already distributed more than 15,000 Kind Frogs to teachers and schools across the country. We are in 40 of the 50 states in the US already. And we are just frantically working to, tell teachers about the Kind Frog and have them, embrace animal-free methods instead of dissecting animals. It's going great.
So for people that didn't hear us chat about this last year, I think the most important thing to talk about is where the problem started and what does this mean, Kind Frog, and the technology on it. Because I just kind of blatantly blurted out, don't want to dissect our animals. But people will be shocked to know that that is still going on. We have this idea that we're not cutting up frogs anymore, right?
Right. And we are. So millions of animals are killed every year for this, archaic classroom practice. There are keystone species like certain sea life and frogs who are killed specifically for dissection, and other, piglets and animal organs from slaughterhouses, right? So yeah, it's a very harmful industry, and one that we certainly don't, we cannot justify dissecting millions of animals every year in the classroom when animal-free methods exist.
Yeah. And, I'm so glad you brought that up about piglets. We'll probably have to do another show on that because, what we know about the science and the relationship of, pigs in general and their association relationship to, human beings. That has been always a question. So now they're becoming under scrutiny to really just cut them all open. And, we have to do something different. So let me ask you a question. Now that you've been doing this, what kind of feedback have you gotten? I want to hear the feedback from teachers, kids. What have you found out?
Ooh, yeah. So teachers are calling Kind Frog a game changer in the classroom. They are thrilled with the lack of biohazard disposal. They are excited at there's little to no setup and cleanup. Students who participated in our pilot program and dissected Kind Frogs are most often relieved to learn that they won't be dissecting a real frog. It absolutely is an industry, and it's one that is losing favor, I would say, because animal dissection is messy, and it's not in the standards anymore. So at this point, it can be considered more of a teacher-led activity or sort of a supplemental kind of thing at the end.
Yeah.
So then why are we even doing it at all?
Yeah. And look, so for those people listening, this is really the kind frog is genius. So let's talk about now what it is. Now they can go to your website and they can take a look at what the kind frog looks like, right? But for the
Absolutely.
and hopefully in this show we'll be putting pictures in. But for today, can you describe it and describe how this functionality works as good, if not better, than dissecting a live frog?
Absolutely. So kind frogs are silicone-based frog model that is modeled after a leopard frog, which is a very commonly dissected species. And it is cuttable. So students will use scissors or scalpels just like they would have with the, real frog. But it doesn't have any formaldehyde. And, again, with the biohazard cleanup and just the distraction of knowing that that is a dead animal who was once alive in front of the students.
And let's just be very clear, all of the parts are still there.
All the
Okay,
parts
you know
are
what I'm
there.
trying to say? Like we took the anatomy of a real frog, and instead of real frog, everything is in the kind frog in the way they would be in the real frog. So there's no negative impact on education, and that's the point I'm trying to make. If anything, how many kids don't want to go study science after having to do this? I know for me, I was like, I actually created a revolt in my school because I
I
just
like,
thought this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And then all the other kids did. It was just like so stupid. It was like, why are we doing this? This is like, I'm never going to use this, right? But let's
yeah.
talk about this. Did this actually, because of how everything, is it improving learning?
Oh, it is overwhelmingly. So there was a study published actually in 2022 that compared student learning outcomes, a group of students who dissected animals and a group of students who use animal-free methods. And this systematic review of the published literature showed that overwhelmingly, students who did not dissect animals and instead used humane animal-free methods outperformed their peers who cut apart animals. And that is in assessments, the grades, the things that actually matter. And I am just amazed at that.
So where you sit, you're looking back and you're looking forward. Where are we going with this? What is PETA? What are you all like thinking? Anniversary, congratulations, by the way.
Thank
But
you.
what's your goal here? And I know your goal is to replace every one of these cut up frog situations with the kind frog, right? What's the progress? How many places now have you touched that are like, yeah, we're converting?
Yeah, so we have distributed materials in 40 of the 50 US states. So we have thousands of students who are dissecting animal free instead of, real animals. And we're actually saving animals. So just last year, we had 8,000 students participated in our pilot program. And that means that those 8,000 students were spared from experiencing animal dissection, and the animals themselves were spared from being dissected.
You know, I'm talking with you. What's so odd about this conversation, Samantha, what's odd about this conversation? That we're still talking about this.
I know.
I
It's
don't quite
odd.
get it. I, I mean, is
Yeah.
it money? Is the issue money for schools? From where you sit, you must have a lot of schools saying yes. But what about the schools that are not ready? What's the case for continuing to dissect frogs, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I can't think of a one. So there are, I mean, obviously, but yeah, so there are educational benefits, there are cost savings, there are ethical benefits, to not cutting apart animals. And but the educational benefits to me, besides, being vegan myself, but the educational benefits, like, so at the end of the day, we're really trying to teach students about animals or about animal anatomy or comparative anatomy. And it makes no sense wasting classroom time, with dissecting all these millions of animals every single year. It's not relevant. It's not in the standards. So why are we doing it? I wish I knew.
Yeah, yeah. Look, when we think about this, I want to know what your next step is, what your next move is. I know you're doing these interviews. This is to shout out a level of awareness, but what's your next step? And where are people to go to find out more about this?
Yeah, so our next steps are you may have heard PETA has a new president. So Tracy Ryman is PETA president, and her motto is modernizing. She wants to modernize. So we are modernizing science education. We're going to continue with our pilot program, maybe even create more kind models. We'll see. And listeners can find out more about PETA's work to end animal dissection at PETA.org. Teachers can go to teachkind.org to sign up for our pilot program, for this year's pilot program, for free materials. So teachers, definitely check out teachkind.org. And any students who may be interested in looking for help navigating like a lack of vegan food at the cafeteria, or even opting out of animal dissection, students can go to PETA2.com. That's the number 2, PETA2.com, for information and resources, and we can help. Yeah, so the call to action is that animal dissection is still happening in schools. Those of us like me who, was in school a long time ago, and these alternatives, these animal-free methods didn't exist back then, but they do now. And so we cannot justify dissecting millions of animals every single year. So even if you're not affiliated with the school, as a parent or a teacher, it's still important to be aware of this issue. And if you are, if you can mentor or assist in any way, with anyone struggling with facing an animal dissection, that would be wonderful. And teachers, you don't have to dissect animals. So get in touch with Teach Kind Science. We'd love to help you replace those animals for free.
Good. One last time. More information about those websites, please. And, a lot of times in these interviews, people want to know, who do I call? So again, for the audience, for the people listening, especially for the parents that are listening, they need to know, what do I do? Who do I call? What can I get help with? Because, bottom line with a lot of the people that listen is they feel like they're doing it alone. You
Yeah.
understand? So
Yeah.
how can we help them not be alone in this?
Yeah, absolutely. Teachers definitely need to hear, from students that they don't want to cut apart animals, but also we want to support teachers and help them and meet them where they are. So teachers can sign up for the pilot program at teachkind.org. Students can go to PETA2.com for information and support. And just remember that Teach Kind is here to help. You can email us through our website. You can contact us through web forms and things like that. And we are standing by, ready and excited to help teachers move toward humane science education.
Perfect. Last question. What's your personal message? What do you want to leave us with?
I love asking teachers, what will it take for them to stop dissecting animals? And that is the question that I want to leave you all with. That's the question that I would love an answer to, and I wish that we knew.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Like I said before, I'm sorry. I cannot believe here in 2025, we are still having this conversation. But then there's a number of things this year that I just said, I can't believe I'm having this conversation again. So, Samantha, thank you so much for everything. Congratulations on your new leader in the helm, because modernization is what we're doing. We have a launch date on Friday, took 10 years in the making. We've got to stay on top of how we're communicating, what we're communicating about, and how to modernize the systems to save our animal friends. Thank you, Samantha, for everything.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. All of you out there, okay, this is simple. Check it out. Ask your school. I bet you all out there, your parents, do you know your children are still dissecting frogs? Why don't you ask that question and then get a hold of Samantha? We'll see you next time.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Pat. I'm the host of the Dr. Pat Show, and I am the creator of the Transformation Network, doing what we do in the world of positive radio, informed, educated, positive media. Independent radio hosts and independent networks have been the face of positive messaging over the past decade. So all of us here have decided we're going to put together an independent network that is going to enable people to bring their positive message of hope, inspiration, and conscious action to the forefront. Help us create a future of amazing, uplifting stories that can be told so we can tell our children and they can tell their children of what hope and conscious action is all about.
I want to thank you all for tuning us in, turning us on transformationtalkradio.com. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our good news segment. I always love when I bring our friends from PETA on the show. Jakob Shaw is joining me here today, manager of strategic initiatives. But here's what I want to say. You know, crushing cans can literally save wildlife. Now, wait a minute. So I'm a kid from New York, and this is going to sound like the weirdest thing, but growing up in the Bronx, I used to love crushing cans. Now, had no idea what we're going to talk about today, but when I saw this, I thought, wow, this is interesting. Of course, our friends at PETA are breaking ground again. Jakob, it's so great to have you here. You know, too much information about me crushing the cans in the Bronx?
No, not at all. It's so nice to join you, Pat. And I was just going to say that as a kid, you were unknowingly helping animals already. So yeah, that's because, right, that these containers can really easily become dangerous death traps for hungry animals. You know, if we're talking about a raccoon, a possum, even cats and dogs, a lot of the time they'll try to lick the last remaining food scraps outside of a can or a bottle, any sort of container. And in the process, you know, they stick their head inside to get food, their head can become stuck. And once it's stuck in there, you know, they have no way of getting food and water, and they can actually starve. But fortunately, you know, as you already knew as a kid, saving these animals' lives is as simple as just taking a few moments to crush cans. And then if you have a jar or a bottle, just make sure to screw the lid back on it before disposing of it.
You know, I really want to talk about this even a little bit further, because I think that we don't even understand the danger of these, may I say it, sharp objects. Anybody that's ever taken a can of anything, tuna fish or something, and taken put it in there, taking the top off, that edge is razor sharp, right?
Right.
But right, Jakob, what we don't really understand too is it's not just that, it's the inside of that can, right? That also. So, you know, what are we talking about here in terms of what you all have observed and why this has become an initiative for you all at PETA?
I think it's just been these repeated instances, you know, of seeing news stories where an animal's head is stuck inside of some sort of container, and you know that they have no way of helping themselves, right? So last month in Omaha, Nebraska, there was, you know, a sad story that ended up being a really great story where a raccoon had his head stuck inside of a canister, and a police officer was actually, you know, I don't know if the police officer was on the scene already or a neighbor saw and called the police, but needless to say, the officer was able to pull the can off the raccoon's head. You know, the raccoon was very happy to be free. And then, you know, this month in York County, Pennsylvania, there was this really sad story of a dog whose head was stuck in a plastic jar. And, you know, when the dog was found, they were really emaciated, severely dehydrated. But luckily, you know, kind people saw that this dog was in need of help. A local animal shelter stepped in. But, you know, all of these sad situations can be prevented by us just taking a few more minutes when we're throwing our trash and recyclables away to think about how we're going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the things too, Jakob, if you don't mind, it's like we understand the nature of animals in this sense, right? Look, anybody's got a dog or a cat or a hamster or, you know, whatever that is you may have. You've watched their feeding behavior, right? I mean, all of us have watched feeding behavior. We've all watched it. You put something down for your pet, your animal friend, and you watch their feeding behavior. They will go in and they will get it no matter what. right?
Absolutely.
Right. And the laws of, let's talk about the dynamic laws of this. It's like a human being. I've been stuck in a few places in my adventure. And what I've noticed about my own behavior is it's so easy to get in something because you're having a different motion to get in. But when you retract, I mean, think about it. See, we think animals are smart. We're as humans, we don't even understand the other dynamic. But getting out of something that an
Mm,
animal
mm.
gets in, it's not easy because the motion is different and the distribution of weight is different. And so for you today to really look at this, people should know what they can do.
Yeah,
What can we
absolutely.
do?
Yeah, I mean, so these methods of disposing, trash and recyclables are really a great, easy place to start. But I think something that's really interesting that you're touching on is, there's some of these physical differences, right? It's obviously easier for us to navigate certain situations because we have opposable thumbs. But, humans and other animals are alike in all the ways that really matter, right? Every animal is someone who feels fear and pain and love and joy just as we do. They have relationships that are meaningful to them, they have families, and they value their lives just like we value our own. So there are so many ways that we can be more considerate and kinder to animals. This is just one of them, but there are truly no end to the things we can
Yeah.
do to be better friends to animals. And PETA.org is a great place to start if you
Yeah.
want some ideas. Well, glue traps, we can really kind of cover all the bases here because it's you can't even really explain what glue traps are without explaining how horrible and indiscriminate they are to animals. And that's because a glue trap is a small plastic board that's coated with a sticky adhesive. And by design, they catch animals, but they don't kill them instantly. So what happens is after an animal walks across a glue trap, sometimes, often it's an unintended target. So we're talking about, lizards, snakes, birds, all these other
Yeah.
species, even puppies and kittens. But, let's say it's a mouse or a rat, the animals people most often intend to catch when they use a glue trap. That animal is going to get stuck in the glue and then they're left to suffer a slow, excruciating death. They die from starvation, dehydration, or blood loss. What happens is that their mouth and nostrils can become glued shut, so they will suffocate to death. Again, they're very aware of their situation, so they know this is happening to them. So it's
Yeah.
truly terrifying. And then in other instances, they're actually thrown. People throw the traps in the garbage when the animal stuck to the trap is still alive, and then they're crushed to death. I mean, it's just like even speaking these words is hard, and hearing it is hard. So you can only imagine how horrendous this is for these animals. It's the most painful, terrifying way to die.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to really convince anybody of that. Just imagine yourself. I have a friend that got caught in a trap out in the wilderness and uh, just didn't know the trap was there. He didn't set the trap.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear him tell that story, you get a sense of things. I mean, that literally changed his view of hunting and the way he hunts, right? And he only hunts to live. He lives in a very remote place up in Alaska, and they don't hunt for fun. They hunt like, I don't have any food here, people. But what we're talking about is a shift in consciousness, Jacob. That's what I want to talk about here next,
Yeah, yeah.
because that's what we're really trying to do here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, I mean, we are seeing that shift in consciousness affect public policy in really fantastic ways, recognizing that glue traps inflict just such a unimaginable amount of suffering on animals. Countries around the world have banned them.
Yeah.
England, Iceland, Ireland, New Zealand, and Scotland all passed glue trap bans. They're banned in much of Australia, Belgium, and India. And here in the US, we're making amazing progress on this front as well, because in the last couple of years, we've seen Ojai and West Hollywood in California pass glue trap bans. They're banned citywide. And we have so many other cities and states that are now considering bans of their own. So PETA just urges everyone who doesn't yet hasn't sort of yet got the message to never
Yeah.
ever buy or use glue traps and to encourage their own city council members to ban them in their city too.
Yeah. Jacob, I know this is probably not the show to talk about it, but one of the things that I think I've observed over time, being an advocate for what you all do, is it's not just about the trap. It's about what you, as the owner, the homeowner, people leave those things out with dead animals in it. I mean, you and I both know this. Not everybody says, "Oh, let me go check my trap." They don't. They put them down. Who knows where they put them? And this idea of not checking them, the idea of having one already tortured the animal, but the second part is then not due diligence on what to do with it. I was talking to somebody several months ago, and the comment was, "Well, they're gonna deteriorate and rot anyway." I'm like, "Dude, you have children. What are you thinking?" I mean, that's another conversation about how you have to be very mindful about the bigger picture here with what we're doing.
Oh, completely. I mean, these traps pose a threat to human health as well. The CDC actually tells people to never use them for that very reason.
Yep.
But I think this is also just a good moment, to remember that, these mice and rats, they really are sensitive, intelligent animals. Male mice woo their partners with these high-pitched love songs, and rats actually display altruism. They'll put themselves in harm's way in order to spare their friends or family members from getting hurt. So it's so easy. It's never been easier, actually, to keep animals outside of our homes without hurting anyone. So it's the clear, obvious, common sense choice, and even better, the preventative measures that we can take are actually the much more effective ones, anyways.
Yeah. Jakob, thank you for today. Now, how do we find out more information? I'd love to know that, and then I'd love to have your personal message, what you'd like to leave us with today.
So the best place to find more information is at PETA.org. There's great wildlife protection tips there and lots of other amazing information. The parting message would just be that all of us can do so much every single day to help animals, whether that's at the breakfast, lunch, or dinner table, opting for the vegan option, that doesn't have to come from an animal, wearing clothes that are cruelty-free, meaning, no animal skins, no animal fur or feathers, making sure that when we're going to entertain ourselves on the weekend, never ever going to a circus or marine park, any place that exploits and abuses animals for profit. I mean, there is truly no end to the things that all of us can do to help animals. So I would say find somewhere to start, and let today be the first day that you turn over this leaf to be a better, kinder friend to animals. It's a lifelong project, but it's a very fulfilling one.
In my next lifetime, I'm pretty sure I'm going to come back and work for PETA. I'm pretty sure that's
to have you back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be it. And even more than me, and Deb will really chuckle about this, is my best friend Linda. I've never seen anybody more infuriated with the misuse of animals than my best friend. But thank you for doing things that we cannot do, Jakob. Thank you and everybody at PETA for what you do.
Thank you so much, Pat. I'm so glad there are awesome people like you out there using your platform to spread these messages of how we can be kinder to animals. So thank you for everything you do.
Yeah. And by the way, in our launch and expansion, we are actually going to have an Animal Friends channel of live streaming video here. And partially because of my relationship with you all, we've bumped that up in our priority. It's just so very important to really look at things differently here and learn how to share this planet in a way that impacts and affects all of us. So Jakob, thank you so much. So much for you all to think about again, but I can't tell you enough. Go over to PETA.org, PETA.org. It's not just about this. We've done so many shows. Take a look, get involved, and make a difference. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Pat. Have a great day.
You too.